Hola, hope you're doing well. I'm going to start mentioning this at the beginning and the ending of all of my videos. Go check out my Discord. We already have like 2 dozen people in there at least. And I've sent out, I was inundated in a positive way with requests to join Discord. I thought that was really cool. So, yeah, I think at least 3 dozen people already have asked in the first 12 hours. Over 30 people have asked for access to Discord. So hopefully they all join in. I know I think there are at least 20 in there already. So if you want to join my little community that I've created over in Discogs, please feel free to do so. People are already feeling good, positive vibes, posting comments, videos, anecdotes, recipes. Okay, not recipes or anecdotes, but people are having fun over there. Come on over and check out. And if you do want to post a recipe, let me know. I'm a horrible cook. I suck at it. I'm terrible at it. Discord. Come on over. We're having a good time. Moving on from the past several days of horse shit, and I've already talked about that enough. I'm going to talk about this man today. Why? Why not? Because he needs to be talked about. That's why. Ian McCulloch. Now, I'm not going to go into Echo and the Bunnymen. We know who Ian McCulloch is. We know what band he was with. We know he was connected to some of the coolest people ever to be featured in the history pantheon of rock music, like Julian Cope and Bill Drummond of the KLF. And this guy's in a really interesting circle of talent. But somehow I've always felt that Ian McCulloch's solo shit is underrated. And this album was pretty popular in its day. I don't know that I can say that I know for sure how popular this was or how unpopular this was. At least here in the United States, Candleland, and this is his first solo album that came out in 1989. His first solo album did really well here in the United States. It was played all over MTV. The late 80s was a really good time for, I don't know, they coined it alternative and postmodern and all that shit here in the United States. But late 80s was a really good time for this kind of music music that was kind of on the cusp. It wasn't, hair metal, and it wasn't like super pop shit like Debbie Gibson or something. It was just stuff that existed in its own era. It was very poppy and very, very well written and well produced, but it still had that edge to it. It was subversive in some way. And so that was a good moment in history here in the United States, at least, for this kind of music, because you could hear it. Several years later, Ian McCulloch, he wouldn't be able to make music and get it heard because it wasn't grunge or whatever the fuck. This record came out at a really good time, and it's an excellent record. I love this album, and I think his first couple of solo albums are worth talking about, and I'm going to talk about them right now. This, again, is his first solo record. He broke off from Echo and the Bunnymen at this time. And this spawned a couple of singles, which I will talk about. This is the US edition, obviously. I'm showing records because, a few weeks ago I did that mystery box video, and I'm just kind of pulling all the stuff out of that box that I found. I mean, there's a couple of dozen videos in that one box, and I plan on doing that. I'm gonna break that box down. And so I'm showing records because I have the box right here next to me. It's right here. And it was a really good box to crack open because, yeah, there's a lot of content here for me to talk about. And I will be talking about all those other records. So if you watch that mystery box video, I'll be doing all that. But I like this record a lot. It just reminds me of being in high school, listening to this album a lot. And this is the same album I've had since 1989. This is it right here. I've been storing and jostling this around in my archives for 35 years now. And it's a great album. For what it is, it's a very memorable late 80s slice of pop music. Ian McCulloch has got one of the most distinctive voices of all time, and I think that it was interesting to hear him break off from the Bunnymen. This was a very bright album. Compared to most of the Bunnymen album, this album surprised me at the time because it was kind of I don't know, yeah, it was a pop album. More so than any of the Bunnymen album, I think. That's an opinion, but I think this is just, it's brighter, it's sunnier, happier, whatever, however you want to define it. This album just has a lot of very great pop moments. And when I think of this album, it just kind of puts a smile on my face. It's an album for summertime. I usually listen to this record in the summer. It's a sunny day kind of album. Hear the lyrics. And it came out on Sire. I'm not going to show the label. You guys have seen what Sire Records in the 80s looks like. It's a yellow label with the Sire logo. Nothing to see there. I'm looking at there's really not a bad track on here. There are a couple that aren't as good as the other ones, but most of these are fantastic. The B-side, some of the songs kind of, I wouldn't say they falter, but they're not as good as the others. But The Flickering Wall, the opening track, The White Hotel, Proud to Fall, obviously. That's the big single from this album, and what a beautiful song. Arguably, I think that could be Ian McCulloch's greatest song, solo or with the Bunnymen. How amazing is Proud to Fall? It's just a fantastic track. If you lived in the late 80s and you're old enough to be buying these types of records, Proud to Fall was a big song for you. It just was. You couldn't get away from it, and you didn't want to get away from it. It was just a great song. You heard it everywhere. It was just a great piece of pop. And it still is. It hasn't aged a damn day. Candleland, that's another single. That was the final single from this. He did that with Liz Frazier from the Cocteau Twins, and I'll get to that. I have that single. And then Faith and Healing. Great song. Some really cool remixes from Justin Strauss. I mentioned him a few days ago when I was talking about the 808 State Pacific single. Justin Strauss popped up again and remixed that, and he did it to very, very good effect. In Bloom, yeah, that's the second to last song. That's one of those songs that's pretty good, but not as good as most of the other stuff. That's, again, just an opinion, but awesome album. I revisited this last week when I found it in my archives, and it sounds every bit as good as it ever has. And I'll post some links. Or wait, can I do that anymore? I guess, yeah, I can do that. Since I'm disabling comments, I'm like, can I post links? But yeah, I can post links. I'll post some links to a couple of songs from here so you can check it out if you've never heard it. If you just like good rock and roll and pop music that kind of puts a spring in your step and a smile on your face, you can't go wrong, man. Ian McCulloch, Candleland. And what a voice. Ian McCulloch had one of the greatest voices, man. Bill Drummond was right. Echo and the Bunnymen should have been a huge, huge, huge band. They were popular, but they weren't as popular as they should have been. And those of you who don't know, Bill Drummond was the manager for Echo and the Bunnymen, and he tried his damnedest to make them the biggest band of all time, and it just didn't work out. But they should have been bigger, I think. They should have been more popular, Echo and the Bunnymen. But I would highly recommend that you check out Candleland at your earliest convenience if you have not done that. You guys trust my opinion, don't you? At this point, do you not believe me? Go listen to this. For God's sakes. Proud to Fall. This is the UK edition. This single did not come out in the United States. In fact, only one song came out as a single here in the United States. And that was Faith and Healing, and I'll show that. But when I was pulling out all my 12 inches from this album, I realized like there were a lot of versions and mixes and B-sides. You had to have 5 or 6 records from this album to have all the B-sides and all the remixes. Like this one's got the Long Night's Journey mix of Proud to Fall. Then it's got a couple of B-sides called Pots of Gold and The Dead End. And I think Pots of Gold ended up being the B-side on the US edition, but then Dead End wasn't on it. Maybe it was on the CD single, but it wasn't on the 12-inch. And if you bought records like me, you didn't buy CDs. And I'm not going to show. Well, I'll show this. I'll show this label. It's already here, but I don't know that I want to sit here and show labels. Ian, side A. McCulloch, side B. The UK always had better labels. In the US, when it came to British artists, you always got the Sire label or the Warner Brothers label or the Geffen label. In the UK, you got these unique labels. I don't know. I've always preferred UK editions. I didn't prefer the way the UK would put out 10 different fucking formats of every single. That got old. In order to have all the remixes and B-sides, you had to spend $50 to get them all. The US market didn't do that. They just put it all on one record, or most of it at least. This is the other edition of Proud to Fall. Again, this is what the UK did. If you wanted all the B-sides and the mixes, you had to buy a bunch of shit. This has got the album version of Proud to Fall, Everything is Real, and the Circle Game. So you get 2 more B-sides here. That was important to me. I like Ian McCulloch, and I wanted all the tracks. So Ian McCulloch, Proud to Fall. They put the album version on there. Really? You couldn't figure out how to do another mix, even like a 7-inch mix or an edit or some other mix? Come on, man. I find it, well, I guess not. In the UK, it might be different. But would you buy this without buying the album? I guess maybe you would. I mean, it is Proud to Fall. It is the album version, so yeah, I guess I can see that. But for dorks like me, you wanted all the B-sides and everything else. Now, here's the UK edition of Faith and Healing. And the US edition has the same cover. I'll show that in a minute. You get the Carpenter's Son mix. I think, does Mark Saunders do this mix? Yeah, Mark Saunders. That dude was a star. He did a ton of production and remix work. He worked a lot with Erasure. He did a lot of excellent remixes for Erasure. He did remixes for Depeche Mode. He was everywhere. Go look up Mark Saunders, man. Saunders. The dude was just one of those production studio wizards, man. Every time he did something, it was interesting. One of those guys who kind of existed in the shadows. Like, you had these big name remixers, like you'd see their name on a record and you'd go buy it, and maybe it would let you down every now and again. But then you had these guys like Mark Saunders who kind of, were in the background, but produced a consistent string of excellent remixing. Mark Saunders, man. He does Carpenter's Son mix, and then you get a few more B-sides on here. Toad and Fear of the Known. B-sides. Quite frankly, Ian McCulloch's B-sides from this Candleland period, they're okay. I'm glad I have them, but I could see why they were B-sides. A few of them are better than the others, but I still prefer. He did a good job of figuring out which tracks should be on the album, which tracks should be the B-sides. Here's the other version of Faith and Healing. This is the UK edition, and this has got the Carpenter's Son mix. Isn't that the mix we had over here? Yeah. You get the same remix on both records. That's an enticing reason to buy both records, right? I still did. Fear of the Known, which is also over here. Okay, see, I'm remembering all this. And then Rocket Ship. So you're getting one B-side on here that isn't on the other one. And this feels really thick. Oh, that's right. There's a poster in here. Hang on. Let me show a poster. What am I going to do? Not show a poster? I don't even remember what this looks like. This has been in here for years. Let's see. I don't even have any clue. Oh, that's right. Can I get all this in there? Candleland. My voice is nowhere near as good as Ian McCulloch's, as you well know. But that's what you get. That's kind of cool. I totally forgot that was stuffed in there. I guess that was the enticing feature. When they were putting this together, they're like, we have a remix and a B-side that's on the other version. There's only one unique track on here. What can we do? I know, let's put a cheap-ass poster in there. But that's a cool poster. I'm glad I have it. And I'm glad I have this. And then the third and final single, Candleland. And this is from that first album, obviously. And this is with Liz Frazier of Cocteau Twins. That's right. Ian, how many of you knew that? Liz Frazier and Ian McCulloch working together. You gotta love that. Candleland, you do get an extended version of Candleland on here. I don't recall how different that is from the album version, but you do get an extended version. You also get Big Days, The World is Flat, and Was Sailing in the Night. And you get a nice, lush gatefold sleeve with this too, and that's, you know, to have that with a 12-inch is always kind of cool. It's a nice touch to put that level of detail into a 12-inch, because when was the last time you saw, at least in the last decade or so, a 12-inch that has a gatefold sleeve? It doesn't happen all that often, so they're the labels. Nothing too exciting to look at, barcodes and things, but I remember, you know, I like the other two singles because of the remixes, but I remember liking the B-sides on this one more. Does anyone agree with that? Those of you who know this? Yeah. These three B-sides are excellent, and I'm wondering, I'm just checking something right now. Okay. I'm just thinking to myself, it's not worth uttering, but yeah. Anyway. Candleland. Great song. And then this is the US edition of Faith and Healing. This is the one with all the remixes on it. This has got Justin Strauss remix. It's got the Long Night's Journey remix of Proud to Fall. This is the backside. The backside. Faith and Healing, the Carpenter's Son mix, which is on there. Faith and Healing Club mix, which is Justin Strauss. Faith and Healing 12-inch dub, which is the Justin Strauss mix, and then Fear of the Known. Yeah. I have 3 different records with Fear of the Known on it. How much Fear of the Known can you possibly have? Well, you can have 3. I guess if you had the CD singles, maybe you could have more. Is Fear of the Known on the CD single? It probably is. But I like this because of Justin Strauss. The Justin Strauss remixes didn't pop up on the UK edition, so yeah. And Justin Strauss mixes are infinitely better, I think, than, well, I don't know if infinitely better. The Carpenter's Son mix is good. It is Mark Saunders. I just prefer the Justin Strauss remixes. And you do get that remix of Proud to Fall. So this is a 12-inch, like, it's got a full album's worth of music on here. You're only getting 3 different tracks and different versions, but they're all different enough, I think, to warrant owning this. Now, when I did my mystery box video, I went on for a minute about how underrated I think his second solo album is, Mysterio, and I will still say that. I love this album. I like it even better than Candleland. This is one of those records, I just think it came out at the wrong time. The world was fascinated with grunge and acid house and too many other things for this to find a place, you know, and I don't know that it's ever found a place. But it has a place in my heart because I love this record. I think it's very vastly underrated. It's just got nothing but good songs on here. I can't think of a single bad song on here, really. And this was produced by, or mixed by, I want to say Mark Saunders is on this too. Isn't Mark Saunders on here? Hang on, forgive me. I'm looking at the credits here. I could swear that Mark Saunders had something to do with the mixing on here. I'm not seeing his name. Why was I convinced that Mark Saunders was on here? Well, anyway. I think he is. You know, this is driving me nuts. It's got all kinds of credits on here. I can't see it. I'm looking this up. I want to see this online. Yeah, there he is, producer Mark. Why am I not seeing this? Written by Ian McCulloch, published, written by Leonard. Yeah, there's a Leonard Cohen track on here, which is very cool. Edited by. Sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with me staring at this for a few more minutes. Management by, backing vocals by, electric guitar, electric violin, programming. Why am I not seeing produced by? Every credit you could possibly think of. Oh, here it is. I found it. Produced by Mark Saunders. So there you go. Ian McCulloch knew what he was hearing with Mark Saunders. And Mark Saunders always had a distinctly pop sensibility. His music wasn't afraid to shy away from the more traditional rock elements and embrace the more electronic elements of its day. And that's what this is, I think. It's very rock and roll based, but it definitely has it's got a sheen to it. I wouldn't say it's dance, but it definitely has dance elements to it. And because of that, I think it's a great forgotten record. If you're looking for classics and you've never heard, we all look for those types of records from now and again, right? You want to go and you want to realize something you may have missed, and something with the internet, it's almost impossible to find lost records that are really good. Well, if you haven't heard of this, I think this is one of them. Mysterio, Ian McCulloch. And it just dawned on me. I showed this. This was in my mystery box, and I'll show it again because it's right here. This is a 12-inch. Lover, Lover, Lover. It's got some remixes and a B-side, or 2 B-sides, right? Yeah, Ribbons and Chains and Birdie. This has one remix, forgive me. One of them is the album version. And this is the US edition. It's got the silver label. But as I look at this, there was another single that I don't have with me. Doug for Love, yeah. Doug for Love. Right here. That was another single. I have that 12-inch somewhere, but it's buried in my archives. It just dawned on me that I have that somewhere. But there were 2 singles, Lover, 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 and Doug for Love. Doug for Love is really cool. I think it has a remix from Mark Stent. Mark Stent's another one of those Mark Saunders type guys who worked with bands like the KLF and tons of people. Did a lot of remix work, a lot of production, was just an excellent producer in his own right. Mark Stent, associated with people like Ian McCulloch. And that is my Ian McCulloch video. I hope you guys go check this out. Why not you check both of these out? I'm not going to hold up the 12 inches again. I just think these are the 2 Ian McCulloch records you need to have in your life. Why not go listen to these? Especially this. I feel like people haven't heard this. I feel people are more familiar with this. You should be familiar with this too. Both of these. Ian fucking McCulloch, man. How good is this guy? Go celebrate him. I sure am. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.